Everything that you're looking at, they're all tied in together. Every part, as crazy as this seems, as outrageous as it seems, it all ties in. Every bit of it.
There has been some updates in the Diddy $100 million default judgment that we reported on earlier this week.
Seeing Diddy Combs, once the untouchable king of the music industry, now finds himself facing a crisis that no amount of wealth or fame can easily resolve. His current predicament stands in stark contrast to the lavish lifestyle he once flaunted for the world to see. The man who built an empire on glitz, glamour, and undeniable talent is now trading designer suits for prison attire. How did this mogul, known for his multi-million-dollar mansions and business ventures, end up in a federal detention center? This is the question that has captivated fans and critics.
I think in federal court and for these charges, they would say it's routine, but in the public realm, this is very significant, just from who we associate Diddy being and everything we've seen him do over the decades. Like you said, this is quite the downfall to go from, we saw the mansions back in March that were raided by the feds. So to go from living in those mansions to being in a jail.
The first thing anyone notices now when they see Diddy in court is how much he's changed. Gone is the confident, swaggering mogul who once commanded rooms with his mere presence. In his place is a man who looks visibly drained, worn down by the weight of the accusations against him. Insiders close to the case describe him as a shell of his former self, with one source speculating that Diddy isn't just battling the charges, he's battling himself. Rumors have circulated that he is deeply struggling with his mental health, spiraling into a state of depression as the walls close in around him. The stress of being held in custody, compounded by the relentless barrage of new and shocking claims emerging almost daily, appears to have taken a serious toll on his psyche. To make matters worse, Diddy's sudden shift from a life of luxury to the brutal environment of a federal detention center is something no one could have prepared him for. The Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Brooklyn, where he's currently being held, has earned a notorious reputation. Conditions there are far from the opulence Diddy once enjoyed. Often described as hell on earth, the facility is rife with violence, overcrowding, and shortages of...
The special housing unit is a 24-hour lockdown unit, which means that any movement within that unit is controlled and coordinated, and no inmate moves outside of his cell without being in full restraints, to include leg irons, handcuffs, a belly chain, and at least 2, if not 3 staff members escorting them.
It's not just the physical discomfort that's wearing Diddy down. It's the psychological toll of being in an environment like MDC. Privacy, once a luxury he took for granted, simply doesn't exist there. Diddy, who once lived in sprawling mansions with rooms the size of small apartments, now finds himself crammed into a tiny shared space with other inmates. He's forced to follow a strict schedule, with little control over even the most basic aspects of his day-to-day life. For a man who spent decades crafting an image of power and control, this sudden loss of autonomy is likely one of the most difficult challenges he's had to face. The real kicker, however, has been the relentless battle over bail. Diddy's legal team has fought tooth and nail to secure his release, offering increasingly elaborate proposals, but so far every attempt has been shot down by the court. His lawyers have suggested everything from a $50 million bond to 24-hour surveillance, promising Diddy would be under constant watch.
They have a shot. I think his attorneys raised some good arguments.
I think they raised good arguments as well. Maybe this will be third time's the charm, because the difference between this bail motion and the prior two is that this one really does get to the heart of what the court was concerned about, which was witness intimidation.
The court's reluctance to grant Diddy bail speaks volumes about the seriousness of the charges against him. This isn't just a case of a celebrity in trouble. These are allegations that could send him to prison for years, if not decades. As the days pass, the weight of those charges grows heavier, and at the heart of it all are accusations so severe they've not only tarnished Diddy's public image, but also shaken the very foundation of his empire. What began as a single lawsuit has snowballed into a flood of allegations, with more victims stepping forward. Initially, Diddy's legal team appeared confident, having settled the first case quietly, but the settlement only seemed to encourage others to speak out. What began as a single lawsuit has snowballed into a flood of allegations, with more victims stepping forward. Initially, Diddy's legal team appeared.
Well, one of the things that's going to happen, and I do believe that there has been a grand jury investigation that has been employed in this case. I think there may be a federal investigation going on, and there may be a stateside one, but I'm not totally sure. But one of the things that the prosecution in any case is going to try to do is show that there is a pattern of behavior.
The stories from Diddy's new accusers paint a chilling portrait of a man leading a double life. While the public saw him as a successful entrepreneur and philanthropist, behind closed doors, Diddy is accused of being involved in a much darker world, one marked by manipulation, coercion, and control. Court documents reveal allegations that Diddy orchestrated elaborate events where the lines between socializing and something far more sinister were repeatedly crossed. These so-called wild parties were reportedly anything but innocent fun. Instead, they were highly organized gatherings where disturbing behavior was not only tolerated but actively encouraged. But these accusations aren't limited to what happened at a few parties. They point to a pattern of behavior spanning decades. For years, whispers about Diddy's wild lifestyle have circulated, but few could have imagined the full extent of what is now being revealed. With each new claim, it becomes clear that this wasn't an isolated incident.
These are all allegations that have become shockingly familiar against Diddy in recent months as he has faced lawsuit after lawsuit from women and men who have accused him of all manner of bad behavior.
One of the most unsettling aspects of the case against Diddy is the way some of his accusers describe feeling trapped, both literally and figuratively. They speak of being lured into situations they couldn't escape from, manipulated into doing things they never would have agreed to under normal circumstances. What's even more chilling is the suggestion that Diddy didn't act alone. According to some of the allegations, he had a network of people around him who helped facilitate and cover up his actions. From personal assistants to security guards, there are claims that many within Diddy's inner circle were aware of what was happening, some turning a blind eye, while others allegedly participated directly. This has raised serious questions about the role of power and privilege in protecting individuals from facing consequences. For years, Diddy was one of the most successful and influential figures in the music industry. His connections spanned entertainment, politics, and business, and he had built a reputation as a man who could get things done. But with all that power came a dangerous sense.
Took Sean Diddy Combs into custody. He's seen in this video entering the Park Hyatt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan with others when agents from Homeland Security Investigations approach and separate him. They place Combs under arrest and lead him out the front door in handcuffs.
It's not just the victims who have been left feeling powerless. Some of Diddy's former associates have also expressed shock and disbelief at the extent of the allegations. While many were aware of Diddy's hard-partying lifestyle, they claim they had no idea things had escalated so far. Others, however, hint that whispers and rumors about Diddy's behavior had always circulated, but no one dared confront him. After all, who would challenge one of the most powerful men in the industry? As the legal battle drags on, it's clear that Diddy's once golden reputation is in tatters. The man who was once hailed as a trailblazer in the music world is now facing the very real possibility of spending the rest of his life behind bars. While his legal team continues to fight for his release, the odds are increasingly stacked.
It's pretty interesting because I think, we have seen many photos, videos of Sean Combs, aka Diddy, through the Associated Press, through Instagram. And so to see him kind of in person after being in jail for 3 weeks now was pretty interesting to say the least. And I say that by being that you would expect him to feel a little defeated, a little.
What's perhaps most surprising is how quickly things have spiraled out of control for Diddy. Not long ago, he was still living the high life, appearing at award shows, launching new business ventures, and rubbing shoulders with A-list celebrities. Now he finds himself stuck in a federal detention center, waiting to see if he'll even be granted the chance to defend himself in court as a free man. With each passing day, it seems more and more unlikely that he will. Diddy's legal team, however, is one of the best money can buy. They've made it clear that they intend to fight the charges with everything they've got. Already, they've begun poking holes in the prosecution's case. One of their key arguments is that much of the evidence against Diddy is circumstantial or based on testimonies from individuals with ulterior motives. They've also pointed out.
This is in the matter of Derek Lee Cardello Smith, MDOC number 267009 versus Sean Combs, Sean Puff Daddy Combs, also known as Sean P. Diddy, also known as Diddy, Bad Boy Records label owner.
However, the prosecution isn't backing down. They've made it clear that they have a mountain of evidence ready to present in court, including videos, witness testimonies, and other materials they claim will prove Diddy's guilt beyond a shadow of a doubt. While Diddy's lawyers are doing everything in their power to discredit the prosecution's case, it's clear this will be an uphill battle. The sheer volume of allegations, combined with the severity of the charges, makes it difficult to see how his defense team will turn things around. With every new detail emerging, the odds seem increasingly stacked against him. But it's not just the legal battle weighing on Diddy, it's the devastating impact on his public perception. In a world where reputation is everything, Diddy's image has taken a massive hit. Even if he manages to avoid a conviction, the damage to his brand may be irreparable. Sponsors have already...
As far as, is he going to turn people in? Is he going to cooperate? If the federal government wants him to cooperate and they're going to cut his time, because right now he's looking at 15 to life. With all the charges he had to, he won't get out till 70 years old. He about 70. That's when they start talking about letting him come to a halfway house.
As Diddy sits in his cell at MDC, he's likely reflecting on how quickly things have unraveled. Just a few short years ago, he was at the top of the world, with a thriving career and a seemingly endless stream of opportunities. Now he's facing the fight of his life with everything on the line, his freedom, his legacy, and his future. With each passing day, the odds seem to shift further out of his favor. The trial, set for May 2025, promises to be one of the most talked about legal battles in recent memory. For Diddy, though, it's not just about clearing his name, it's about survival. If the accusations against him are...
Diddy has been under criminal investigation for months by federal prosecutors here in New York, and if there are criminal charges, many of them may look a lot like what some of these individuals have been describing.
As the countdown to Diddy's trial begins, all eyes are on him. Will he be able to mount a successful defense and reclaim his place at the top? Or is this the final chapter in the story of one of the most influential figures in modern music? Only time will tell. But this leads us to the next, even more shocking chapter in the unraveling of Diddy's empire, his long-shrouded legacy of accusations and the dark secrets that have been lurking beneath the surface for years. Diddy's fall from grace didn't happen overnight. In fact, if you dig deep enough, you'll find that the warning signs were always there, lurking in the background, whispered about in certain circles but never fully addressed. For years, Diddy was not only a symbol of success and ambition, but also a man surrounded by controversy. People in the industry had heard the rumors, stories of wild parties that blurred the lines of acceptable behavior, and a man who seemed to believe his fame and wealth granted him immunity from consequences. But now the layers are being peeled back, and what's being revealed is nothing short of shocking. The accusations against Diddy aren't just recent developments, they date back years, possibly even decades, and paint a disturbing picture of someone who allegedly exploited those around him. The scariest part? Many of these victims claim they were too afraid to speak out at the time, fearing that Diddy's power and influence could crush their careers or worse. And honestly, who could blame them? We're talking about one of the most influential figures in the music industry, someone who could make or break you with a single phone call.
Sean had to take responsibility for what he did as an individual. Sean is the one who pulled that gun out. Sean is the one who shot. So he has to take responsibility for that.
The parties Diddy threw during the early 2000s were legendary, filled with A-list celebrities, endless entertainment, and the kind of opulence that became his trademark. However, according to some insiders, there was a much darker side to these gatherings that never made it to the tabloids. It was at these events that, allegedly, the seeds of today's accusations were planted. Several sources, including former employees and party planners, have hinted that what went on behind closed doors was far from glamorous. Rather than carefree fun, they describe scenes of manipulation and control, where a clear hierarchy.
Diddy is now being sued in addition to what we just talked about by Dawn Richards. You guys will remember her. She was a part of Making the Band.
Dirty Money.
Dirty Money, the Danny Kane era. So basically what she is alleging, she's alleging a lot of different things.
One of the most chilling aspects of the accusations against Diddy is the claim that he would often target individuals who were vulnerable, people trying to break into the industry or those already on the fringes of fame. These were individuals who couldn't afford to turn down an invitation to one of his infamous parties, knowing full well that being seen with someone like Diddy could open doors for their careers. But once they arrived, the atmosphere would reportedly shift. What started as a glamorous night out quickly descended into something far more unsettling. Attendees have spoken out about feeling trapped, as if they were being watched or coerced into doing things they never would have agreed to under normal circumstances. One former event planner, who has chosen to remain anonymous, recalled a particular party that still haunts them to this day. It was like a scene out of a movie, they said. There were mirrors everywhere, covering the walls and ceiling. At first, the mirrors appeared to be mere decoration, but the planner later realized their true purpose. They allowed Diddy to see everything happening from every angle. According to this source, the entire setup was designed to create an atmosphere of control, where Diddy could oversee every detail of the night's activities.
Jay-Z got his ass whooped by his sister-in-law on camera. What's her name? Solange. You got his ass. The feds ain't step in and do nothing. The feds don't care about you getting your ass whooped.
This party planner's account aligns with other stories that have surfaced over the years. Stories once dismissed as wild rumors but now being taken seriously in light of the ongoing investigations. For a long time, the idea that Diddy's parties were anything more than extravagant social gatherings was shrugged off as tabloid fodder. After all, Hollywood is known for its excesses, and Diddy was hardly the first celebrity to push the envelope when it came to partying. But as more and more people come forward with eerily similar accounts, it's becoming increasingly difficult to ignore the darker side of these events. It's not just partygoers who are speaking out. Some of Diddy's former employees have shared their own disturbing accounts. From bodyguards to assistants, many describe a work environment that was, at best, toxic and at worst, downright dangerous. One former bodyguard, who worked for Diddy during the height of his career, has gone on record saying that he witnessed things he wishes he could forget.
New at 5, the legal troubles continue for Sean Diddy Combs tonight after a judge ordered the music mogul to pay $100 million to a Michigan man who says that he was assaulted by Combs in '97.
According to court documents, Derek Cardello Smith says Combs and then assaulted him during an after party at a Holiday Inn in Detroit. But Combs never responded to the lawsuit in court.
New at 5. The legal troubles continue for Sean Diddy Combs tonight after a judge ordered the music mogul to pay $100 million to a Michigan man who claims he was assaulted by Combs in 1997. According to court documents, Derek Cardello Smith alleges that Combs attacked him during an after-party at a Holiday Inn in Detroit. However, Combs never responded to the lawsuit in court. Crossfire.
If that's part of the indictment, that's somewhat like a blackmail. He was blackmailing people to be in the freak-offs. So that's federal. That could be that's a federal charge. He can't blackmail people to say, yo, listen here, you did it once and you're gonna do it again. That ain't gonna make it with the government or nobody.
One of the most infamous incidents that continues to haunt Diddy's career is the alleged involvement of his team in violent confrontations. Many might remember the high-profile club shooting incident in 1999, where shots were fired and Diddy, along with his then-girlfriend Jennifer Lopez, were thrust into the center of a media storm. Though Diddy was ultimately acquitted of any wrongdoing, the case left a permanent stain on his reputation, one that never truly washed away. Now with these new allegations emerging, that old controversy is being revisited with fresh eyes. Were these just isolated incidents, or is this part of a larger, more troubling pattern of behavior that's only now being fully exposed? Then there's the case of Cassie, Diddy's former girlfriend, who filed a lawsuit in November 2023, accusing him of years of mistreatment. Although the lawsuit was settled within 24 hours, the brief window before the settlement revealed enough to send shockwaves through the industry. Cassie alleged that throughout their relationship, she endured a cycle of emotional and physical abuse, further intensifying the scrutiny surrounding.
What that means is the money that they're saying Diddy has to start paying this guy on October 1st, right. Diddy's team is like, hold on, we need an emergency conversation about why this should not have been granted. And they awarded him a TRO, which basically meant that Diddy's team was not allowed to sell any property in that state or anything related to what could be used to pay the plaintiff.
In her lawsuit, Cassie claimed that during their years-long relationship, she endured not only emotional manipulation, but also physical harm. The rapid settlement of the case raised suspicions, with many speculating that Diddy was eager to avoid a prolonged legal battle that could have exposed even more damaging details. The swift resolution only fueled the growing controversy surrounding him. The Cassie lawsuit acted as a floodgate, with more individuals stepping forward almost immediately after the settlement. Each had their own story to tell: former business partners, partygoers, and even former employees who had worked behind the scenes for Diddy. What's striking about these accounts is how similar they all are. Many of the alleged victims described feeling powerless in the face of Diddy's influence, afraid that speaking out would lead to severe personal and professional consequences. For years, that fear kept them silent, but with the growing momentum of the #MeToo movement and a broader cultural shift towards holding...
Dawn had the choice to file the case as a Jane Doe, and she chose not to do that. After giving it a fair amount of thought, she wants accountability, she wants justice.
Holding powerful figures accountable, the tide has shifted. Suddenly, the idea that someone as influential as Diddy could face real consequences for his actions no longer seems far-fetched. And that's exactly what's happening now. The sheer number of people coming forward has made it impossible for Diddy to continue brushing these claims aside. His legal team has been working overtime to discredit the accusers, challenging the veracity of their testimonies and attempting to undermine the evidence. Yet the damage to Diddy's reputation is undeniable. Even if he manages to avoid a conviction, there's no escaping the fact that his public image has been permanently tarnished. Once hailed as one of the most powerful and admired figures in entertainment, Diddy's fall from grace is now impossible to ignore.
And if he's allowed to go through with any of the sales, I won't be able to recoup any of my monies or anything from him as a result of any possible judgment in this action, if he's allowed to proceed with it. And an injunction or a restraining order would help ensure that he's not manipulating and selling the property to avoid.
One of the more recent allegations involves a woman who claims she was assaulted by Diddy at a party in the early 2000s. According to her, the night began as a typical Hollywood event, glamorous, filled with celebrities, and the kind of place where being seen was almost as important as what you wore. But as the night wore on, things took a darker turn. She recalls being separated from her friends and led to a private area of the house, where the atmosphere was strikingly different from the lively main party. It was quieter, more intimate, and as she described it, incredibly uncomfortable. She says what happened next left her feeling violated and powerless, yet for years she kept quiet, fearing no one would believe her. This woman's story, much like many others, points to a disturbing pattern of behavior that appears to have gone unchecked for far too long.
I think that they don't want, if they was in any of those freak-off tapes, if they played a part in any of those Diddy sessions, they don't want it to get out to the general public to make up their brand.
Now the silence is being broken, and as more people come forward, the scale of the allegations against Diddy is becoming impossible to ignore. What started as a few isolated claims has snowballed into something much larger, something that threatens to unravel not just Diddy's career but the entire empire he's built over the past 3 decades. It's not just his accusers who are speaking out. Some former friends and associates are also distancing themselves from him, unwilling to be associated with the growing scandal. One former collaborator, who worked closely with Diddy during the early 2000s, recently spoke about their time together, saying, "There were always rumors, but at the time you didn't question Diddy. He was too powerful, too connected. If you crossed him, you were finished in this town."
I'm not going to talk about anything that I haven't said in court or in the papers. These are all great questions, but I'm just not going to get into it. So
can you speak about your concerns about the leak and the video? You have spoken about that.
I did it in the court papers, and I'm just going to stick to the court papers. As you guys all know, let me just finish. As you all know, I made a request today for what we were calling a gag order, and I'm not going to walk out of court and do anything other than...
What's perhaps most striking about all of this is how drastically Diddy's public image has changed. Just a few short years ago, he was seen as a trailblazer, a man who had not only built a successful music career, but had also expanded into fashion, television, and philanthropy. He was a symbol of what could be achieved through hard work and ambition. But now that image is crumbling, replaced by something far darker. The man who once seemed invincible is now facing the very real possibility of losing everything. As we inch closer to the trial date, the question on everyone's mind is whether Diddy will be able to beat the charges and reclaim his place at the top, or if this is the beginning of the end for one of the most powerful figures